you have to take this one grand photo of the bride and groom where they're like have to sit and say, wow, that's an amazing photo that we got.
So when interviewing those potential photographers, what are some non-obvious questions, couples should be asking to make sure it's the right fit for them?
If she's not asking me what my style is, then she's not asking other people, then she's kind of blindfolded because she doesn't know what she wants. Understanding the limitations of what you can do, not what everyone expects you to do, is very important. I always tell my couples, your wedding, if you're really thinking about getting published, do you ever photograph with the idea of publication in mind? I was like, interesting. She's like, I don't really care about being published, but I wouldn't mind it. I was like, well, if that's the case, then you need to carry your wedding and your photos in a certain direction, because say a Vogue publication, a Bazaar publication, they're mostly going for, if we're doing their portraits, what location do we actually pick? And we always tell this couple, like, if you get rejected, don't think your wedding was terrible or your photos weren't pretty enough. It's just not what they're looking for at that time.
How do you strike a balance, especially during Indian weddings when there is so much going on all at once?
Yeah, that's a great question. Over this long period of time, I think the number one challenge has always been I thrive to get the best photos of my couple on their wedding day, because 99% of our couples are ordinary people and they're never going to look as good as they did on their wedding day.
Imagine the fun you'll have at your wedding, one of life's most treasured moments. In each episode, hear from leading wedding professionals as they share with you insider tips and personal advice for a magical wedding. Welcome to the Indian Wedding Podcast. Here to help plan your wedding with style and grace are your hosts, Kunal and Jinal Sampat.
Awesome. Great. Mr. Duke, welcome to the Indian Wedding Podcast. We're really excited to have you here, and thank you for joining us. For those that are just tuning in, which is most of you, we just had a little pre-chat leading into this podcast interview, and we were having a fun conversation with Duke about what I should call him, and he suggested that I call him Mr. Duke. So we'll see if I can keep at it for the rest of the conversation, but. Thank you so much. Really, I think you're such a wonderful person and so talented, and really, really privileged to have you here. My memory of seeing you in person, and I don't remember the year, probably 2013, 14. So it's been over a decade. And you had this beautiful booth for your photography business right next to ours. And I remember how much care and attention you had given to create the space for the event. So I can only imagine. I mean, obviously your work is awesome, and I think I'm really excited for people to meet you here. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being here with Janelle and myself.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kunal and Mrs. Janal. For the record, whenever you feel like you want to throw in a little joke, just call me Mr. Duke and we'll have a laugh. But just call me Duke, obviously. I'm no Mr. Duke at all. But great to be on your podcast and on your show, and happy to meet your community.
That's great.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yes. So to kickstart our conversation, I'm going to start with a question that will take you to the past. Basically, you've been in the photography business for almost 25 years or more. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen in wedding photography, and what aspects of that have remained timeless?
Yeah, that's a great question. Over this long period of time, I think the number one challenge has always been maintaining your integrity and the style of your photography. Defending your style, what you believe in, what you are after in the creation of your photos. I've gone through many different fads and many different sort of, this is hip and cool right now, why aren't you doing this? We've gone through like the Dutch angles where people would turn their camera halfway on a diagonal and they would shoot crooked images while the bridge in the background is falling off like a piazza tower Italy, and that was such a popular thing back in like the late 90s. And I kept saying, this is wrong. You cannot alter photos such as that, to people changing colors of their photos, drastically. And some of it is still going on, but we can now comfortably tell that most people are trying to just stay true to life and natural colors and reality. So yeah, I mean, the challenge has always been, I think photographers who have been able to withstand the trends, the aging, all of that, and still stay relevant are the ones who stay true to their style, and never like caved in and given to the modern, trends that came and went. So that's my biggest challenge, and I'm always fighting for it. Obviously, there is always a tweaking, a little changes that we have to apply. Locations change, the wedding trends change. Like a lot of people, used to get married in indoors a lot, ballrooms a lot. Churches, gurdwaras, temples. Now it's a little bit more outside and becoming more so. With that, the lighting changes, atmosphere changes, the mood of the people change, lighting of the reception changes. So we kind of adapt to that. But I've always defended the style that I've gone after, and I think when you look at some of my photos from years and years, 20 years ago versus now, there's still a very similarity and continuity to it.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. That's great. Thank you for sharing. So, talking about your style, your at least it's my impression is that your photography like blends fashion inspired glamour with like real candid moments. How do you strike a balance, especially during Indian weddings when there is so much going on all at once?
That's right. There's so much going on. I always said, if you're able to shoot an Indian wedding, you're a very thick skinned and tough personality, because you're dealing with a lot of aspects of the culture, the wedding itself, the people's expectations, things moving super fast, long hours of the day. I my selling point to my couples, even when I'm having a Zoom call or an in-face conversation, is always tell them, you know, I thrive to get the best photos of my couple on their wedding day, because 99% of our couples are ordinary people, and they're never going to look as good as they did on their wedding. So it's upon the photographer to bring that out of them, understand the perfect angles of them, or understand the perfect, what their fashion is about, what they can do. Can they do an editorial style with, not so much smiling, a little more seriousness, a little more edgy, a little more subdued? Or is it the opposite? Every couple is different, and I respect that. I meet couples who are very fashionable, but they're also very happy. You cannot take the happiness away from them. Like, okay, close your mouth. Now let's get some serious shots. You try a little bit, but at the end of the day, every couple, it's their personality that comes on the photos and imagery. You cannot fake something that's not there. So yes, my style is fashion forward, as you see in my photos. I try to be as editorial as I can be, but I also have to show the glamour of the couple, and the beauty of the bride, the handsomeness of the groom, within the boundaries of what they can offer me.
That makes
I
sense.
see. I mean, yeah, that's exactly. So, how do you understand like their style? Like, does that happen during
Good.
pre-calls, or because they are like
Yeah.
pretty much not in their element in the call setup, you know, versus when they're different
Yeah.
when they are in like a social setting, like their own wedding?
It's funny because some of the couples have known me for so long that when they call me, they're like, Duke, we want to book you. And I'm like, who are you? We're like, oh, we're from so and so's wedding. We had a little chat with you, or we got your name. I'm like, okay, I don't know these people enough to understand what they're about. So I always try to do like at least, we used to meet every couple. They would come to our office, make time to meet with them. But now with the fast, lifestyle that we all have post COVID, no one has time. So I try to do a Zoom call. With the Zoom call, I can already figure out the chemistry between this couple and the chemistry that they have with me. But I still don't stop at that, because talking to people is only half of what you get. I try to do their engagement photos. A lot of them are against it. Oh, we don't have time, dude. We're out of town. It's not within our budget. This, that. I'm like, look, it's not for me to sell you this. It's for you guys to do it, because you're going to get to know me better. You're going to understand how I work, how I talk to you, how my behavior is around you guys. I want to get to know you guys, your energy, your physical energy together, your physical chemistry together, your sizes, your differences in style of who's doing more laughter. You would not believe. Like, I really pay attention to, is the bride laughing more than the groom, or smiling? Is the groom doing more? Are they compatible with their expressions? I mean, these are like, no one thinks about, but it really shows when you're doing a photo of a couple, throughout the day. And then, especially moments where you're doing their portraits, if one's like super excited but the other one is not, then it doesn't really come out the right way. It doesn't translate well. And a lot of photographers don't pay attention to that, but you have to. And you only get to understand this when you're like first doing their engagement session. And I think engagement session is so important, because we spend 2 to 3 hours with this couple. There's no mother-in-law, there's no parents, there's no bridal party, there's no event planner, there's no location coordinator saying we got to start, we got to go here. So they're in their comfort, and they allow me to enter their life, their personalities. They allow me to get to know them in their weak moments, in their shy moments, in their vulnerable moments. And that's when I understand how this couple are engaging with the camera and me, and that makes all the difference. Not to say a lot of weddings, like when we go destination weddings, we don't do an engagement session because it just is impossible. But it does take a little longer or harder to get to know this couple when you don't do their engagement session. I think I'm still a big proponent of it, and I always try to do their engagement session. We don't post it as much as we used to, like on our Instagrams and stuff, but we do it as many as we can. Yeah.
That's great.
I see.
Thank you for sharing.
It's super helpful.
Sure.
Yeah. AI has become like such a big topic across all creative fields. How do you feel it has helped photographers as a tool? Do you currently use AI in your work?
We use AI for our emails, our questionnaires, our answers, our wedding pitches. If you're doing, dealing with publications, have you used it extensively for editing or for photography? Still not so much. I'm kind of an very careful adapter of technology until it's really done right and it's advanced to a point that I'm like, okay, this can do as good of a job as my human editor, as my human person, or as good as me. So I know some photographer friends of mine that already jumped shift, and they already started using AI as opposed to doing things themselves or having their editor. Sure, you could save some money. You're still having to pay a lot of subscription fees to AI when you're like using it more, especially for photography, retouching, editing, calling images. But yeah, we just like when everything turned digital, I remember I had a digital camera from 1999. It was like the very first camera. I used it at the time I was doing photos for Costco's website. And we would shoot their mannequins with clothes on it, shoes, glasses. It made sense because with digital camera, you could upload it to their website and done with. But then weddings, we never wanted to use it because the quality was terrible. Because every time we looked at the images after they got printed, it was just very weak. It just fell apart. Colors were just horrendous. And we started getting couples like, oh, why don't you shoot digital at our wedding? Especially like actually some Indian couples would push me like, you could shoot nonstop You don't have to pay for film. You don't have to pay for processing. I was like, yeah, but look at the garbage that you get afterwards. Yes, it's free. You can shoot as many images that you want, but the quality isn't there. So I held back for 5 years till 2005 when I started switching to digital cameras. By then, almost like 60% of photographers were shooting digital, and I was against it. So same thing like with the same thing with the AI.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like sitting back and looking at it. Every now and then we'll dabble with it and say, okay, if the AI is going to do color corrections for us, editing, how much can you do perfectly? If I have to still have my editor go back, sit and retweak everything, okay, is it feasible? Is it economical? Is it practical? Time, money spent, or is it just popular thing? Oh, I'm using AI. Okay, great, let's do AI. Is it really like doing what you want? So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we
Yeah.
use AI for like emails and a lot of our administrative work. It helps us a lot for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, I mean, with AI, especially with weddings, I feel like people really want to see the real colors, the real mood of that day.
right.
Sometimes, like, people are using AI to change things around and make it better, or like make it different, right, than what it is.
Right.
Really defeats the purpose when it comes to like wedding photography, because you're not trying to like
Exactly.
impress anybody. It's like for your memories, what it was like when
Yeah.
you got married, right? The day when we
Right.
got married, it was sunny and not like raining, for
Yeah.
example. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the
Cool.
thing. Like with AI, like, okay, they're saying you have
Yeah.
to teach AI your style of coloring and editing, and then let AI do it. Okay, you try to do it, teach AI. But the problem is every scenario of, like, for example, an Indian wedding, oh my goodness, the lighting, the colors, it changes so much. You have 16 hours a day of coverage. You start from bride's room. It's a dark, shadowy room early in the morning at 6:30 a.m. You're using all the video lights, flashlights. Then you go outside in the morning. It's a different color, temperature light. It's like very cold light. Noon light when it's the ceremony. It's direct sun. Later on, it's warm light. I mean, how does AI keep up with
Yeah,
it? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yep.
like if I'm gonna get too detail oriented in this, it just can't handle everything. Then you
Yeah.
sit back and you're like, oh my God, look at what happened to our photos from the room. It's completely like blue, like, for example, or it's completely the
Right.
opposite, very warm and amber. Um, or
Hmm.
you look at the reception photos, it's completely dark. It's not bright enough. Like you show this to a planner that wants to post this photo, they're like, oh my God, I was there. I have it on my iPhone. This reception didn't look like that. So
Yep.
I actually have a very close wedding photographer friend from San Francisco, and he uses AI quite a bit for his photos. He doesn't do Indian weddings. He does smaller 8-hour weddings. So, the amount of photos that he gets is probably third of what we do, especially when we have 2 or 3 multiple day weddings. Well, wedding day with Indian weddings. So he has, like, say 800 photos to put through AI. It's easier to handle because most of his wedding is in one outside setting, ceremony,
Hmm.
portraits, family photos, even reception is outside. For him, AI is suitable because he
Yep.
doesn't have too many opposing, situations. But he still says afterwards he has to sit down and tweak quite a few of the images. But for him, it's worth it. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to pay someone full time to come and do it for him. I have a full time editor that has to do all our weddings because there's just so much photos that we have to go through too.
Right. That's
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah. So I have a question that I'm sure like a lot of brides and grooms like planning their wedding might have, relating to like, so looking for a perfect photographer, for their wedding. Basically, when a couple is searching for their wedding photographers, what is one thing that you think they should pay attention to beyond just looking at the pretty pictures on the website or social media?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, the social media really makes The job of every photographer is super easy. They post 10 photos from a wedding. They all look great. They're all super heavily edited, Photoshop touched up. But then, is there anything else after that? Did they follow the story of the wedding? Did they capture all the important shots? So a lot of our brides, after they see our work on website and Instagram, we actually send them links of full weddings. Whether it's if they're Indian couples, then we send them Indian. We actually had a bride who wasn't just asking for Indian wedding; she was asking for South Indian wedding. We're like, oh, so you want the
Okay.
Saudi wrap? She's like, yes, I want that.
Yeah.
So we send them the wedding that really relates to their style, their culture and community. Because it's not just them; it's not just fiance or her; it's the parents as well. Parents are the ones who are always paying for it, especially these big production weddings.
Right.
So my advice is understand that your photographer knows how to capture just not like 10 great shots, but like hundreds and hundreds of great shots from the beginning till the end. You have the Mendis and you have the, Sangeet, you have Haldi, all these events that happen, all those small, you got to know in the 2 hour time that you have, which is very short amount of time to capture this. Are you squeezing everything together? You're doing the event, but you also need to do the important portraits. Some photographers don't pay attention to those small events, but you have to. The bride and the entire family wears different fashion, different outfit per event. You have to capture every one of those, and you have to show it to them afterwards. So, yeah, I mean, the best advice I'll give them is make sure your photographer knows how to capture the entire wedding, just not just 10, 12 great photographs, because everyone can do it. Even with an iPhone, you can do 10, 12 shots and put it on social and show it
Yeah.
off.
Such an
Right. Right.
important
So
Other
really
distinction.
other
ask
Yeah.
the photo. Yeah. Was it?
there are other aspects of that as well. Get to know your photographer. Don't just go from what he or she told you. Oh, you should go hire him or her. Get to know their personality, understand their humor if you like their humor. Because I always tell my couple, you're going to spend more time with your photographer on your wedding day than anyone else, literally, especially in that intimate settings. You're not going to spend as much time with your mom or your siblings or even event planner or your friends. We're there from the time she's getting ready, and we're there all the way till the very end of the night when we're leaving. And we're constantly in their face. And I'm one of the photographers who really pay attention to every photograph. And I know when, like, if there is a situation during the mandap ceremony, uh, you got to get that shot. Like, say the bride and groom have to look at the camera. You have to understand that moment. You can't just be sitting somewhere not paying attention. So those are the things that I definitely advise the couple. So you have to interview your couple, your photographer, and make sure that they know what they're doing. You know,
Yeah.
questions after questions. I've been asked so many questions, which I love, and those are the things that I think the brides and grooms who are very like sort of doing their research, they need to look after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah, because
sense.
there are so many things happening at a given moment. For example, for my brother's wedding, there was this hidden secretive event happening with the bride's family that, right, we didn't know till the last minute. And the photographer had to go there and, take the photos of that because we totally didn't have that in plans. The bride's family never told us that this event is going to happen.
Oh,
So there are a lot of spontaneous things that happen when it comes to like different cultures. So you really
yep,
have to be on top of the agenda, right? Like what's happening, give your photographers
right,
exactly the sequence of events and the important activities that are happening for that particular wedding. That probably will help the photographer. I'm
great
understanding,
point.
right?
Great
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
event planners should make sure that all these details are set in the timeline. Like you said, there's a lot of times that there are things that happen. Like some brides during their getting ready, there's some kind of an event
Yeah.
going where the families have to come and gather around her. If it's not in an agenda, then the photographer may not be aware of it and they not capture it. So yeah, you got to make sure the planner has all this information, and
The
we get
planner.
that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, makes sense. So many couples can feel awkward. I think for me, like I don't feel awkward in front of the camera, but when it's time to get my photos taken, it can be a little um, feel different for me. So how do you help like brides and grooms relax so that personalities truly shine through?
Yeah. I think I'd say my first few years that I started, I had a very tough time, and it was a challenge for me to combat that problem because I myself was very uncomfortable under my own skin. I would have such stomach jitters, and I'd be like so nervous. I'd be like shaking, trying to get the photos, and it was tough. Over the years, I've learned that if you radiate your confidence and your comfort and ease to your couples, they really pick that up from you and go with it. I'm able to make them laugh at times. I get their trust immediately. I think just the way I carry myself in situations where I can be a loud talker, like my voice can like carry on a little bit, and I walk in and then I just pick it up. I just start, dictating the situation from the getting ready moment. And once you start dictating, because the bride and groom, last thing they want is to, decide what to do on their wedding day. They don't want to decide where to go to do photos, or what light you have to use, or how they want to pose, or how they want to stand together, because there's so much going through their heads at that time, anyways. Um, it's that very first moment where you gain their trust and just walk in and, hey, this is great. Okay, let's get the bride's lehenga, the outfit shots, and let's go here. Just when they see you, like, do your choreography of your work. You talk and you carry on and you say, okay, now let's bring the bride here. Okay, I need bride's mom here. Um, I think I set that standard immediately. I think there was I have this videographer. He's sort of not in the business anymore, but he's like, every time I show up an hour early and we're trying to get stuff done, and then all of a sudden you walk in and you just started talking with your loud voice, and everyone's like paying attention. Like, how do you do that? I think it's the very first moment that you walk in. It's just how you enter, not just enter physically, but like your presence, how you bring it on, and it just
Yeah.
from that time forward it carries on. So many times I'll see, like, the couples are one thing and their parents are different. Some
Mm.
parents are very hard to please, and they look at you like, oh, I paid this guy this many thousands of dollars. Can he really do it? Can he actually make us happy? And then at the end of the day, they come like, you're very good. you know like
It's
they
totally
really
very true.
You're
Yeah.
very good, yeah. And they probably haven't even seen a single photo that I've taken. Yeah, they've been there, they've seen how we do the lighting, but they haven't seen the end result. But just the way they've seen me carry myself through the situations, and a lot of it is very tough, stressful moments. When you're doing this big family photos after Mandap, and you have like 30 families you have to go through, and each of them are 10 and 15 and sometimes 20 people, and you have this little Mandap, and you have to make things go fast. Okay, you sit here, you stand there, kids sit down on the ground, and then, okay, everyone big smile, and they try to get everyone's eyes open, everyone's attention. That's what, like,
Right.
grown-ups pay attention. They love to see that, because for them, yes, the bride's candid shots and those spontaneous shots are important, but truly for them is capturing their family history. It's that, family tree that carries on, grandkids and everyone in that photograph, and you're able to get it, and you haven't forgotten anybody.
That's a very
Photos.
valid point. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think these days I've like what you just said, like the family photos is something I don't see very often, in olden days,
Right.
especially when we got married. we had these pictures where the entire family lined up in a picture. The people don't, I don't see them do that, but I think those are the pictures that you want to look at actually years later. Who
Exactly.
was at my wedding, like,
That's a great point, because there's so many people at these weddings that they're there today, but God forbid, they're not there
Yeah,
tomorrow. Older generation. Again, they look the best at their either son's wedding, daughter's wedding, or grandkids' wedding. They're all dressed up, they're energized and happy, and you got to put them to the corner somewhere and take a photo of them too, not just with the bride and groom. I take photos of grandparents singularly, because I know
it's
that
important.
that photo is going to end up being God. I don't want to say that, but someday it's going
It's
to be
true.
used when they're gone. You have no idea how many
Absolutely.
times, like, do you have this photo of my grandma? She just passed away and we're looking for it. So we immediately get it to them, and they make a big canvas photo, big enlargement, frame it, put it at the funeral. But it's not just the sad moments, but happy moments. Like I said,
Happy moments.
grandparents, when they sit there and see all their grandkids, how many times do they get to do it? Not everyone's got the time. They're busy. The occasions don't come that often. So you have to take advantage and capitalize on that stuff.
Totally.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe we should do a photographer when we have our next family gathering. This makes me want to do that
We should.
because I think
Yeah.
it's so important. I think we really like taking photos, especially like family photos, because we don't get to see everybody very often. And weddings are
There
such
you
a
go.
good way to like see them. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you so much for all that.
Sure. Sure.
It was great.
Yeah.
Um, so what is one moment that you always make sure you want to capture at a wedding, maybe like an Indian wedding or a non-Indian wedding? What is one moment, like a key moment in like a brides and grooms time for that week that that you never fail to capture, basically?
It's funny you ask, because when I started getting into weddings, I was doing other photography at the time. I was interning. I was when I was much younger, and when I stumbled into working with this wedding photographer. This is like ancients ago, a long, long time ago. This is when people didn't even shoot candid moments, and people didn't even shoot as many black and white. There was no digital camera, and this photographer taught me something very valuable. At the time, I didn't even pay attention. I didn't even appreciate what he was saying, because I was all into, there's candid moments you're not capturing, black and white, because I was like the new generation. And he said, all of that aside, he said, every wedding that you go to, your consistency is the most important thing. He said, you got to do all your standard poses of the bride and groom, the families, the bridal party, the groomsmen together, bridesmaids together, photograph ceremony. He goes, you have to take this one grand photo of the bride and groom where they're like, have to sit and say, wow, that's an amazing photo that we got. And that's one thing that I think will resonate for most couples. Now, for their families is different, but since the bride and groom are your clients, that's what you got to get to, and that's for me. Like, like I always like, okay, we're gonna do their first look here, but where do we do that big shot? Now, if you were able to create 2 3 grandola shots, much larger than life shots, great. But you have to do one great shot of them. What he told me, it's always stuck with me, that yeah, we'll do the couples photos, the candidates, the cute shots, the bridal party, but that one grand shot of the bride and groom you must get, whether it's overlooking the ocean, whether it's in this beautiful staircase, whether it's under an arch, whether her veil is going in the air, something where it's like just larger than life photograph, where they will always remember that photo. It could be a large photo in their wall, or a screensaver on their computer, or their iPhone, something like that. There
Interesting.
are other many photos too. I think a lot of photographers would say, when they do the kiss at their ceremony, and like, let's say they do a dip and kiss, or they walk out of the ceremony, the emotions are so high. maybe there is a dove release, maybe there is a confetti release, maybe there's a petal release. Those are things that people always remember seeing as well. But for me, going back to the day that I started, and my you know what I learned from that photographer, I think that's a good thing for me. The getting that grand shot.
It's precious, similar to what you have in your backdrop, the castle and the French garden,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Similar to that?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, see, like
Awesome.
every couple has. So
Yeah,
this is like a great moment that was captured. This is one of our last photos of the night. A petal toss
it's
at the
beautiful.
Persian wedding, which they always do a petal toss at Persian wedding, and to them, this was like the best photo. Now they have crazy, amazing shots at this hotel by the cliffs of Ritz Carlton, Laguna Beach, and stuff. But this one was an amazing shot that we got. But yeah, like, but this one is the opposite. I mean, this is like the larger than life shot that I was talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome.
So how far in advance should couples reach out to you if they'd like to book you as their photographer?
For big production weddings, which is obviously the South Asian weddings, we tend to get calls, and we want to get the calls 8 months to a year for sure, because it's a multiple day. Generally, it falls on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes if it's a long weekend. Most of, like, right now, we're actually booking quite a few weddings, especially Indian weddings, for next year. So this is like the perfect time to get like 8 months to a year ahead of their wedding date.
That's
I
great. That
see.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Like just
but
really planning.
sometimes we have last minute clients. This year was a surprising year for us. I think more than any year, where I'd say 1/3 to almost half of our weddings that we booked were kind of like last minute. It came 3 months before, 4 months before, 5 months, and these were like big weddings. We're like, how is this even possible? So it was a very peculiar year this year. But every other year it's been like 8 months at the minimum to a year in advance.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, how are the couples finding you to book the weddings? Do you do you
Yeah,
happen to
if
know?
you asked me this maybe 7, 8 years ago, I would say word of mouth and event planners. I think now it's more from social media like Instagram, and then event planners, and finally word of mouth. I think word of mouth isn't as effective anymore. um, I think people just don't generally share ideas as much as they used to. You
Hmm.
used to ask, like, even for me, like, if I want to find anything, I go on Google, like best plumbers, for example. I don't call a friend like, hey, do you know a good plumber? Like, best plumbers, and then I look at the reviews, who has the most
So
reviews
true.
and who has the most positive reviews. Like, we used to ask people where to go dine in West LA, or Beverly Hills. Now you just look up on Yelp.
Yep.
So it's become more of a search engine world now, and I think that's how, especially Instagram, since all the weddings are on Instagram nowadays. And being that I started in 2012 with my Instagram when it first launched, I've been in it for so long, and I think so many people know my Instagram, and we have a lot of traffic in it. So I think my Instagram is my number one source.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I
Planners
wouldn't
number
say you're a
two.
late adopter with technology because you did adopt Instagram pretty early.
that was the only time. It's funny because when the Instagram came out, we had learned a lesson from my website, because uh, you know when I launched my business, that's when the internet started coming up with websites and domain name and URLs, and I was like, okay, well, I need to get dukephotography.com, and it was already gone. I tried dukephoto.com. There's several names that had to
Oh
do with Duke
wow.
Photo. It was all taken, and I couldn't believe it. And I contacted these girls, like, this name you own, you're not even using. Can you just sell it to you? No, 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 no. We need it. We need it. Like, Like, we need for what? I ended up buying one of those names, but by then it was too late because I started dukeimages.com, and it kind of stuck with me for a long time. So when Facebook started, we immediately got Duke Photography. We're like, we're not gonna wait till the same mistake like happened to us with our domain name. And then Instagram came up, and we immediately got Duke Images. We didn't want to wait. So yeah, I think that in that aspect, I'm not a late adopter of technology.
Yeah.
It really worked well for us. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
also had some really young, I had some young assistants who really were up and coming with Instagram. I wasn't like appreciating it as much as they were. So when we established Instagram, they're like, "Oh my God, this takes over Facebook. Forget Facebook. Now we need to go Instagram." And I think we were one of the first ones who were doing BTS videos on Instagram and sharing the videos on online. And now it's become such a popular thing where there's content creators and everyone's doing like videos, and Instagram is favoring videos more so than actual photos. So the algorithm has shifted and changed so much. But yeah.
Yeah, but some
Totally.
timeless things still remain, the carousels and stuff. Yeah. So, when interviewing like potential photographers, I know there are so many photographers. If I were to get married today, I was like, there are so many great photographers that I would love to work with, but we have to only pick one, right? So, when interviewing those potential photographers, what are some non-obvious questions, couples should be asking to make sure it's the right fit for them?
Good question. Style, like if my bride and groom are interviewing me and they're not asking me what my style is, I go out of my way to explain it to them, because I just know that chances are this bride is going to talk to other photographers and get to know them. If she's not asking me what my style is, then she's not asking other people. Then she's kind of blindfolded because she doesn't know what she wants. And I always ask, what type of photography are you looking for? Are you into editorial? Are you into more like a playful, kind of photographer? Um, what style of wedding do you have? What theme of wedding do you have? What's your dynamic with your fiance? Do you have bridal party? Bridal party change a very the dynamic and mood of a wedding. Believe it or not, some that don't have bridal party, it feels a little more subdued. It becomes a little more of a classic wedding because the bridal party brings more life, more energy, more exuberance, happiness. But when there isn't a bridal party where you have the fun moments with the bride and the girls in their robes and popping a champagne bottle and chit chatting in their room, and then they come out and do the fun shots, walking with the flowers up in the air, and obviously as a photographer, you create that scenario as well where they're having fun. Same with the groom. Groom goes to the bar and drinks whiskey with the guys and have fun. It's a rat pack photo. So you got to find out what their theme of the wedding is. So
I see.
that's if, I think with that, then if the bride doesn't know, you're educating the bride. Like, what is it that you're looking for? What kind of photographer do you want?
Yep.
Um, some brides know. Like the other day, I had a bride who was like, "Do you ever photograph with the idea of publication in mind?" I was like, "Interesting." She's like, "I don't really care about being published, but I wouldn't mind it." I was like, "Well, if that's the case, then you need to carry your wedding and your photos in a certain direction, because, say, a Vogue publication, a Bazaar publication, they're mostly going for a very fashion forward, a little more editorial style of photography, as you guys have seen."
Yep.
So she's like, "Oh, okay, interesting." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, then it changes a little bit of the concept of your wedding if you're really thinking about getting published."
Yeah.
And we have done weddings where from the get-go they're like, "We want to be published." We're like, "Okay, so we have to create this mood. Okay, we're going to go to the beach. Okay, then we have to set up a certain prop for your beach session just to bring a little
Get
more
it.
attention." So it's not just like a simple sit down at the beach, get a photo. um, like if we're doing their portraits, what location do we actually pick? Do we just shoot it next to a tree? Well, that's kind of boring. You want to shoot next to a nice plain concrete wall? That's kind of nice. It's a little more of an editorial look. So you kind of have to like walk them through. But not every bride's going to come and ask, I want to be published. Some don't even want to be published, don't even want to be, their photos, they don't even want it to be on social media at all, which is respectable as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, I always take a lot of time to explain my style to them. And sometimes it's not what they want, and it's fine. I mean, I tell them I'm
I
not the
see.
photographer who's going to be jumping up and down to make you guys
Right.
laugh. That's just not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to monkey around. I'm not going to be very goofy with you guys. If you want a goofy kind of look for your wedding, not that goofy is a bad thing. Some couples really like it, but I
Yeah,
tell them that's just not, you know.
your style. So going back to the publishing the photos, if they want. So who are the brides and grooms responsible for submitting the photos to the publications? What are their expectations usually?
It sort of depends on who the publication is, but generally, what most of these publications are looking for is a story, like a bio from the couple. So that's on them, like a narrative, like
I see. Okay.
what they, when they first decided to get married and they started come up with their wedding design and the concept. What were they thinking? What fashion they wanted to wear, what location they want to get married in, what colors, what flowers, what those kind of
Details.
questions and details, which they have to then go and ask the florist or the planner, the designer, what do you guys think? Because you want to pitch a nice story to a publication. You don't want to just be very wordy and boring, very plain old kind of thing, which AI
Yeah.
comes in very handy for that stuff.
Yep.
But then when it comes to the part of photography, fashion, it's on us. Like we pick the best photos where it shows the bride and groom's fashion forward photographs, like editorial stuff. We don't just go like throw in goofy stuff. We'll have goofy candid moments of the reception or ceremony, people laughing and that, but not their portraits. So we will combine anywhere from 60 to 100 photos, make sure they're all put in the right category, edited, even Photoshop, make sure the colors are what they want. Every publication is a little different, as you can imagine.
Hmm.
So we will gear for that kind of a color tone and then hope for the best,
Yeah.
Makes
So the
sense.
and
photographer basically. Yeah.
yeah,
The photographer
I always
pitches the
tell.
publications.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
we're the ones who have to like compile all the names of the vendors, and the photos, and also because they need to credit everybody, but
Got
also
it.
get the bio and the story from the bride and groom and send it to the publications. And we always tell this couple like, if you get rejected, don't think your wedding was terrible or your photos weren't pretty enough. It's just not what they're looking for at that time. There's been time where we pitched with this magazine Wedding Style, a few years ago. We pitched this story and they're like, we really liked it, but we already have a winter edition wedding that we ran. This is a winter wedding or winter style or winter theme wedding. We can't run this again. It just doesn't like work right. We need a more of a spring wedding. So, there are times that like publications, like, we just ran a similar wedding to this same color. The bride wore the same outfit, like
Yep.
say whether it's Sabyasachi or Mayorta. So there's no point doing the same thing over. So I have to like let the
Yeah.
couple know, look, it's not like your photos were bad, your wedding was boring. It's just not what they're looking for. So
Timing.
we try to make them
Got
understand timing isn't right. Yeah. Sometimes they're disappointed, but they understand. And then we
Yeah.
try other publications. If one doesn't
Yeah.
take, we keep going, to see.
Yeah. Thank you
Totally,
for
that makes
shedding that
sense.
light because I know a lot of brides
Sure.
love, love, love to get featured somewhere. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like exciting for some brides. I've seen
It's
that too.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they feel important. They feel like a
Yeah.
celebrity for that few months. Goes viral. Yeah, I mean
I
it's
know.
fun. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to have a different. I guess you need to position yourself differently, is what I'm hearing you say. Right? You kind of have to align with the editorial magazine and what their
Yeah,
needs are.
I mean,
So,
it does change. It changes the concept of your wedding quite a bit. Like you really have to then think about what are you wearing for your wedding day, especially the
oh wow.
brides.
Mm.
Seriously, the colors and even location. Sometimes, unfortunately, destination weddings win the draw because local weddings. If it's in LA, oh, okay, it's at the Ritz Carlton. Like a lot of people have gotten married there. It's a great hotel, very expensive, very trendy, very, LA's. But someone else who goes to, like, say, Lake Como and does their wedding there, they get in. It's just sometimes that's how it is. It's a
Freshness.
trend. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fresh. It comes and goes.
Freshness.
Right now,
Yeah.
I want to say right now the destination weddings are sort of winning the whole publication route.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not going to stay like that forever because all these venues in Italy, sure, they're great now, but if you can only post two or three of those venues, then it gets old, and people are like, okay, I've seen that same Lake Como, the big rainbow, the smoke blasting in the back of the briding room. Okay, we've seen that many times.
Seen
Okay,
that. Yeah. It has to be
so
fresh and
has to
inspiring,
be fresh.
right? I think that is the, I think makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I tell
Thank you
tell my
for
couple
sharing that. Yeah.
I tell people, go get married in the desert. No one's done it. That'll be like a for sure publication.
Yeah,
I have
people don't
seen
want to do
those
that.
some desert shirts.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I
probably
think
not
those are more
weddings. I
like
would say.
not
Yeah,
weddings, for sure. No weddings, just like
Yeah,
engagement shoots or things like that.
yeah, yeah,
Simple.
yeah. We've
Two
done like
people.
sand dunes,
Yeah.
desert, Joshua Tree. Yeah, but
Right.
weddings are tricky. Weddings can be very difficult to do in the desert. Yeah.
yeah, makes sense. Cool.
Yep.
All right, should we wrap up,
Yeah.
Janelle, with the last
Yeah.
couple
Yes.
questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
so I let's see. Um, so after photographing so many weddings, what keeps you inspired and excited from creating fresh work?
You know, I think seeing the excitement of my couples after we first send them like 50, 60 teaser photos that we get and then present them with the gallery. you know I think it's such a drive when you're a wedding photographer, and it pulls you in and you just never want to get out of it. I think um,
Hmm.
I know people, in fact, who were in it and then they're no longer there, and every now and then, like, I'll see somebody who used to shoot weddings and now they're like maybe their wife is dentist and they're making so much money, they retired and they're like, oh man, I miss shooting weddings so much. You have no idea, being behind the camera capturing the moments. Um, so it's a great turn on. I mean, it really drives you, and you just don't want to let go of it. It's I've always loved photography. That's why I got into it. I didn't go after medical school or law school. Um, it's like one of the best. Like every doctor, when you ask them, what do you do in your recreational time, they're like, oh yeah, I do photography. I bought a camera and it's the best thing. It's like, it's experimental, it's meditation, it's fun. I get something, with this camera, I zoom lens. Imagine doing that every day. It's a beautiful hobby where you can make money from it. And I'm no gadget lover per se. Like, I used to love the cameras and what they look like and the lenses, and I would read about it. And those were my young days. Now I'm like, the camera is just a tool for me. I just pick it up just to take photos. It's what I get afterwards. It's it's the fulfillment of capturing those moments that just like, keeps me going.
That's awesome. That's
Love it.
exactly what I was
And
hearing
it's,
today at Chase Jarvis's podcast. You know of Chase Jarvis? He's a very
yeah,
famous photographer too. Even he was saying like buying all these tools and gadgets will not make you a great photographer. The cameras
no,
and stuff is just a tool, just like AI is just a tool. It's not going to make you a great photographer. It's your talent and love for the craft is what is going to make you a great photographer. Right?
yeah,
Cool.
we all go through this era of photography where you're holding a camera and you're like showing off and you're like, oh my God, look at my big lens I have here and stuff. Um, but once you live through it, that just becomes very like, it just is not, it's not as important as it used to be, especially for me at least. I still know photographers who are very gadget driven and, oh, I got to get the new camera, the latest model, I got to get the new lens, just like people keep buying iPhones every time iPhones come out. Oh, I got to get the latest camera. For me, I always say if it's not broken, why fix it? Why change anything when it's doing the job? Till I really have to change it.
Totally. That's
Yeah.
great. I think that's a wrap. Janelle, do you have anything else you want to
I have one
ask?
last question. If Mr. Duke had one piece of advice for every bride and groom, about their wedding photos, what would it be and why?
Let me think about it for 5 seconds on that one. That's a good tough question. Um, yeah, I think understanding the limitations of what you can do, not what everyone expects you to do, is very important. I always tell my couples, like, just be comfortable on your wedding day. Try to trust the photographer and trust the moment. Be in the zone. Like so many times, like I tell them, just be present. Like when they're looking at the camera, if they're not really there, I could see their eyes. I'm like, be present, be here. Don't wander away. Your thoughts are somewhere else. You have to be in the zone. Like
Mm.
cherish every moment of the wedding. It comes and goes in a hurry. They OCD on stuff that really is not important, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, half of the day is gone, and they're just like constantly thinking about that one thing that went wrong. Things can go wrong on the wedding day, whether they like it or not. It's a weather thing. It's your costume, your clothes sometimes don't wear properly. I've seen that many times. Hair and makeup may not be exactly what you want, but it's just like pick up from what you have and just be happy with it and go with it, because other moments are affected by that one little thing that happens in, like when she's getting ready. At that one little instant that happens should not ruin the entire experience of the wedding. So I think that's for the wedding day. Other things, like as far as like planning your wedding, deciding what florist, what photographer, what planner, those are the secondary thing, I think, and they're just important. But just on the wedding day, just for them to be present and just be happy and, be in the zone every second of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Duke, for your
Thank
time
you.
today.
You guys welcome. I had fun. It was great.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
If you've enjoyed watching this episode and learned something new, please consider subscribing to the Indian Wedding Podcast. You can also sign up for the Indian Wedding Podcast's monthly email newsletter for more exclusive content and personalized offers. To sign up, click on the link in the description below or notes on our website, indianweddingpodcast.com. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Indian Wedding Podcast. For more exclusive time and money-saving tips, head over to somepotjewelers.com/podcast.